Hello everyone, John Eisenhower here. This video tutorial will show you how to create your first two presentation slides in Google Presentation. The screen you're looking at right now is in Module 5 and it is titled at the top, Writing Assignment, Module 5, First Presentation or First Two Presentation Slides. And here you'll find the assignment for just creating your first two presentation slides that you will eventually turn into a presentation to be submitted in week 8. So we'll do just two presentation slides today just to get familiar with the technology this week. All you have to do is 2 slides. And then in week 7 or in module 7, you'll do a first draft of your entire presentation. And in week 8, you'll turn in the final draft of it. Okay, so just to get started here, you can see the introduction. It basically just states what I just stated. In the assignment, it says, your objective is to produce the first 2 slides of your presentation. You only need to submit 2 slides this week. I just want to know that you have the ability to actually create a title slide and to find, insert, and provide attribution for an image on the second slide. So much of the content for this doesn't really matter. I just want to know that you can do it because the content will matter in modules 7 and 8. Okay, so if we look in the resources, I'll just you can see everything you need to get started. You will have to use your FTCC student drive here with a link to it. There is a link to reset your password. You can download a PDF copy of this assignment, the actual page we're looking at now. And we have 2 slides as an example that I made in Google Drive. I will show you, before I download this, I will show you that if you scroll down on this page, you can see the specific instructions are there. And I know it does look like a lot, but that's just because I was very detailed with the instructions. So because I know some of you guys have probably never done this before. Many of you probably have never done this before. And I wanted to make sure you had the guidance you needed just to get it done. It's not hard, but I just wanted to make sure that you had that support. So the first thing I'm going to do here is access my FTCC student drive. And you can see I've put in a message to right-click this to open it in a new window. So that's what I'm going to do. I right-click using the right button on the mouse, and I'll click Open Link in New Window. A new window will open where I can sign in to my FTCC student email account. Now, if you have lost your password, I've actually put a link in here, and you can see where the instructions say. Here, I'll make this. There we go. You can see where the instructions say, forgot your password, fill out the student email password reset form. So if you've forgotten your password, just fill out this form and your password will be reset to your birthday within a day or so. Okay. But I know what my password is, so I'm going to sign in to the student version of my account. And it takes me straight to Google Drive. The next resource says to download a PDF copy of the Module 5 First Presentation Slide Assignment. I do recommend that you download a copy and print it so that you can have it next to you while you follow these steps. And in fact, I'm going to do something similar by downloading it here just to keep it open near me while I complete the steps. I'm just going to download here. And I'll open the instructions there. Finally, the last resource, and this is where we'll start today. The last resource is to open 2 slides made in Google Drive to use as an example. So let me just show you what the expectations are for this assignment. And this actually might be better if I right-click and maybe open it in a new tab. Okay, so let's take a look at the sample slides for just a minute so you can see what I'm going to ask you to do. So as you can see here on the left, your job is to make a title slide. That's what you're looking at now, the first slide here, and an image slide that contains correct attribution. And when I say attribution, it's this part right here that says Distracted Kid by Ben Parman via Wikimedia Commons. Looking back at the title slide, I don't really care what you write up here. You can even write presentation for DRE 97 if you want to for this week. Later on, it'll be important that your title reflects. Later on, it'll be important that your title reflects the content of your work. But right now, it doesn't really matter. Down here in the subtitle, you can click. You need to write your name first, last name last, comma, and then you write DRE 97, and then the section number that you are in. So unless you're in section 1004, you would write the section number you are in. So DRE 97 and then the section number of your course, of your specific class. And that's it, guys. Just something that looks like this is all you need to submit. And let me show you how to do that. So going back to the document, back to the instructions document, I'm going to scroll down to the specific instructions. Okay. Here I start with creating a new presentation. And the login screen, or the screen immediately after logging in to Google Drive, will give me, this is what it'll look like, and I'll have the red create button here. So I click it and click presentation, which will open up a new presentation. All right, and I'll be asked to choose a theme. Now, I don't really mind what theme you choose, but it should be a simple one. The one I normally use is modern, and that probably looks familiar. If you choose lesson plan, that's great. Biz is fine. Khaki is fine. What I don't like for our purposes are these here at the bottom, starting with color strip, and down here, Western, Steps, Friendly, and Trek. And the reason those are not the best to use, or they're not extremely professional, they're not very professional, and say in the case of color strip, you can have all these almost blinding colors that can be distracting rather than helpful to your audience. So I'm going to choose the one I normally use, which is modern. So I just click it, and then I'm going to choose, then I'm going to change my slide size from widescreen to standard. And I'll click OK. Moving on, and you can see those steps in the instructions. All right, moving on. The first thing I want to do is to change the name of my presentation. And I'm just going to, I think I'll use DRE 097 first two slides. And I'll click OK. You always want to change the title of your work before you get started, because if you don't, you might end up losing your work in a list of a bunch of presentations that are all titled Untitled Presentation, and then it'll be very hard to find. So the next thing I'll do is to, if I look at number 5, I'll change the title and the subtitle, and all I have to do that is just to click and write. Again, it doesn't really matter what you put here for our purposes this week, but it will need to, your title will need to reflect your content going forward. I'm going to write my name. You write your name, comma, and then our course and section number. So I'm just going to write DRE 97, section 1004, but you will write the section number of whatever class you are in. Now I'm going to add another slide. The way I do that is to use these buttons here. If I click the plus, it'll create a new slide that'll be another title slide. And that's not really what I want, so I'm going to click the triangle menu here. I'm going to click that triangle. It's going to open up a menu, and probably the best thing for me to choose right now is just a blank slide. So I click that, and there's a new slide. Okay, now here's the part that may be a little counterintuitive to some of you guys, is where we're going to add an image. Now I know that if I ask you to find an image, your first inclination is to go to Google, maybe use the image search and type in what you want, but you can't do that for a presentation. Because when you do that, you're likely to find a picture that you don't have permission to use, and you might end up violating the author's copyright, which of course is illegal. Now you're probably not going to go to jail for it, and you're probably not going to get fined. You're probably not going to get fined or even caught by the authorities if you use someone else's picture in a presentation for school. However, your instructor is not going to like it, and it still is illegal, and you're still using that other person's work for your own purposes without permission, and that's not cool. So we're going to use the internal image search from the presentations to find an image that we have permission to use. So to do that, I'm going to click Insert, Image, and I'll get a screen. Sometimes the screen looks like this. Sometimes it looks like, if you look over here uh, on the left, sometimes it looks like this, but the options are really the same. And the option I want is Search. And because I have this window pulled to the side, I need to click More, and I'll click Search. And I have three options here: Google, Life, and Stock Images. Now, when this says Google, that's slightly misleading if you're not familiar with it. That's a specialized Google search that will only return images that you have permission to use, or at least that's the idea. You, the author, you of this presentation, you are responsible for verifying that you can use the images, but normally this search does a great job of returning things with the correct license. Life has given permission for Google to have a specialized search for some of their older images, and some of those are really nice to use, especially for historical things. And then Google actually keeps a nice set of stock images that you can search and use. I'm just going to use Google today, and I'm going to search for the same search term that I used, to create the instructions. I'm going to use the search term student. You use whatever search term you want. You may have to go back and do it 2 or 3 times to find some images that you like. And I'm going to scroll down and select the distracted kid picture that I've used to create the instructions. So I'll click it, and when I do, there'll be a blue border will appear and a blue check mark, and a link appears down here, and I'll show you that again. If I click it again, you see the link goes away, and when I select it, the link appears. And what this is this is the link to the location where Google has found this image. And this location is where we will learn our permissions for how we can use the image. So I'll click the link, and a page will open for where this image is hosted on the web. And I'm going to make this window a little larger to show you this next part. Okay. So if I scroll down, I can see some information. First, I see a description. I see a source. I see the author. And importantly, I see this section called permission. And here we can see that the permission is this file is licensed under the Creative Commons Attribution 2.0 generic license. You don't have to know what that means, but if you want to click that, you'll be taken to the page on the Creative Commons website that will give you a detailed explanation. But here we're given a basic explanation, and that's all we need for right now. It says you are free to share. That means you can send it to people. To remix. That means you can adapt the work, which is what we're going to do, under the following conditions. We must use attribution. That means we must attribute the work in the manner specified by the author or licensor. And all that means for us is that we have to tell our audience who made this image. And we have to make sure that they know it does not belong to us. I'll show you the original source is actually on Flickr. And so I'll click Source Distracted Kid, and we can see where the author himself uploaded it. And so if you're taken to a page that looks like this, some of you will be taken to a page that looks like this initially. You can actually see if we didn't already know, we could click here on the right-hand side some rights reserved, we could click there and see the license, which will tell us what permissions we need or which permissions we have. And this will, there we go. It says you are free, again, to share and adapt for any purpose, even commercially. That means we could put it on a t-shirt if we wanted to, as long as we state who wrote it, or state who took the picture, or who owns the picture. Okay, so going back to Distracted Kid, if you're also, some other information you might need on this page is that the title of the image is here, Distracted Kid, and the name of the author or the photographer, the owner, is here. So if you're taking to Flickr, that's where you find that information. All right, once I've made note of that information, I'll go back to my images where I'll find my selected image, and it should still be selected. See, the blue border's still there. I'll click the button marked Select down here in the bottom left-hand corner, and my image will automatically go into my slide. Now, yours probably won't load in this nicely, so you can use these little sliders here. You see how I can make my cursor do a diagonal arrows, and you can move them around. You can stretch the image out. You can make the kid look really funny. You can even take the circle here and do like that if you wanted to. I don't recommend that though. So I'm going to go back to my original image because I think it looks nice. And here, I'm just going to add a quick title just to give the image some context. When I created these instructions, it was for a different class that was doing a paper on problems and solutions. So I'm just going to, but I'll just go ahead and use the original text that I had in the example. And to get a text box, I can either click the T here for text box, or I can go to Insert Text Box. And all I have to do is draw the text box on the image. And I do that by holding down the left mouse button and dragging the cursor and opening up the box. And then I can type in it. So I'm just going to use the words, the problem. And I'll make it a little bigger so it can, I'll make it a little bigger just so it looks okay here. I think I'll change the text to white. I'll do that here just by scrolling over text color. I think it'll be nice to have it as white. And then let's make it kind of big so our audience can see it. Oh, we can go bigger than that, huh? Yeah, maybe not that big. And you see my text looks pretty messed up there, so I'll just drag the box to drag the box so that the text looks nice again. Okay, so that just gives me a little title to the slide, makes it look nice. But now I want to create my attribution. So I'm going to put in another text box, and this time instead of going to Insert Text Box, I'm just going to click this T here, and you can see the menu opens up Text Box. And I usually want to put it at the bottom right. That's normally where you see the attribution. It doesn't have to be there as long as it's clear what image goes with what attribution. Again, I think I'll change my text to white just so it'll be a little more obvious. And I'm going to use the following formula for my attribution. First, I'm going to put in the name of the image, which, as we know, is Distracted Kid. And I'm going to put that in quotation marks. Let's see, that's not as easy to see as I wanted it to be, so I'm going to drag it here. There we go. So I write Distracted Kid. I'm going to make this bigger so you guys can see it. All right, Distracted Kid. Then I'm going to put in the name of the author. So I'm going to say by Ben Parman. I want to spell his name correctly, so I'm going to look it up. Oh, one N, so I'll go back and correct that. And then I'll put where I found the image. And since I found it on Wikimedia Commons, that's what I'm going to write. Wikimedia Commons. I'll stretch this box out so I can get it all in one line. And I can even have the box hanging off a little bit just so I can move the text around so it looks nice on my image. I'll click away so it goes away, and there you have it. A title slide with my name and the section number, and of course you'll put your name there, and the image with a little heading up here just to give it some context, and most importantly, the attribution so that my instructor and my audience knows that I'm giving proper credit to the person who took this image. Now, when I need to turn these slides in, Blackboard doesn't take, or the Safe Assignment link won't take a PowerPoint file, so we need to download this in a format that it will accept, and it will accept a PDF. So we just download it just like you would a Google document. You go to File, Download As, choose PDF, save it somewhere where you know you'll find it on your computer. And then you can go right back into Blackboard and submit the paper, or excuse me, submit the first two slides just as you would any other paper that you've done. Importantly though, and I want to be clear about this, importantly, make sure you put it in the correct link. So before you upload anything, you want to verify the title says, the title of the page has the correct link, that you're submitting the first two presentation slides, not, you can see, the cause and effect final draft, which is also due in Module 5. So make sure you're putting your presentation slides in the Safe Assignment link for submitting the two presentation slides and not the final draft of the cause and effect paper. And of course you can see that just by looking at the title at the top of the page. All right, everyone, I hope you found this demonstration helpful. If you have any questions, please put a question in the Questions for Instructor discussion board. Send an email to me at my faculty email address, or call me or come see me during office hours, which are posted in the instructor information area in Blackboard. All right, everyone, I hope you found this helpful. Have a wonderful day.